There are many things to do today, so we will divide this episode in segments. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode on the Vindaria CMP. So far things are going pretty smoothly on our area here on Vindaria. We've done terrain, some ruins with a tree, an epic mega tree, a gothic bridge, and even a creepy angel statue that is now carved into the tree itself. It blends in so well, although it's a bit creepy, not gonna lie. Today, however, things are not going smoothly anymore. It's a complicated day and it's hard to explain why, but I don't like the tree. I think the top part, the leaves in particular, were a bit rushed and the result was not the best. It isn't bad, but it's not exactly what I had in mind. And honestly, I think we can do better than this. So to start today, we are going to get rid of all the leaves. And if I'm honest, I think I don't like the branches either. Okay, let's get rid of everything, there's no coming back from this now. The area has changed quite a bit without the canopy. There's no more shadow, there's no more tree, and now it's time to rebuild it. To start, I had to begin working on the top part of the trunk again, trying to repeat the techniques and blend the shape to what we had done previously. Then for the branches, I took it a bit more slowly and did it with more care, making sure that this time every branch made more sense for the vision that I had in my head. It's not the easiest choice to destroy a build and start over, but sometimes it is necessary, and in my experience most of the time the new version ends up looking better because you can apply the things that you liked and learned from the first attempt. If anything, that is also a big reason why I like playing in creative, it allows for those big changes. Okay, so here we have the tree branches done, and I think it's looking way better than before. The process for the branches was the same as before, using the path tool, starting with the bigger branches first, and adding smaller ones on top of those, with a total of 4 layers of branches to give the tree a more realistic look. Something that I really like is that now, because we have the bridge over here, we can kinda play a bit better with the scale and know how tall we can go. So this one I think it feels taller because it starts way higher up, but now it's time to paint it. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna select all this and I'm gonna go to Operations Hollow to make sure that the tree is empty inside, because that is very important for what we are going to be doing later on when we build the gameplay inside the tree. As you can see in the map, they look really nice from the top. I crashed during the painting of it, so that's why I didn't show it, but I used the same techniques that I used last time for the painting of the trunk, so there's nothing new to show there. What is new and what I do want to show here now is the actual making of the leaves, because last time I showcased 2 methods which are the fastest methods for making leaves. They are not bad methods, but as I said, they are fast. They work well with larger scale trees and there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, the result, you don't have as much control. So the third method, and the method that I want to use today, is one that is way slower, and is the one that I use the most. So for this method we are going to make a platform, and then we are going to use the shape tool. We are going to change it to solid, let's use a sphere, and we are going to turn on this option called Metable. This is the key. Let's make some small spheres, and we can separate these to make them more elongated. So I'm gonna go ahead and place some of these. So we make a couple blobs of these, and then we go to Magic Select, we go to Block. You can do with surface on or surface only. I like it surface only. I'm gonna turn off the down option. So then with this I can select different layers of this. So maybe I can grab these layers, and I'm gonna do Ctrl C, and then I'm gonna come to the tree, and on the tip of the branches where we have the mesh, or in the union between different branches, we are gonna press Ctrl V to paste the blob of leaves. Then here, 2 good options is keep existing, so we don't ruin the tree shape in case we don't like it, and unlock rotation, so that we can rotate this in any orientation that we want. Now, I'm gonna go around and begin placing these blobs on top of the branches. You can see this is going to take time because we are going to be placing the blobs all manually. Not only the keep existing and the unlock rotation are the useful ones, You can also click here on rotate scale and use nearest neighbor, and with this we can scale up and down our blob. So let's say that we want our blob to be thinner in this direction and slightly taller. We can put these parameters in the horizontals and in the vertical, and then click scale. You can see how our blob has changed shape now, so we can readapt this one now to fit the shape that we want. And so I began the process of placing the leaves. I know I said this is a slow process, but in reality it's pretty fast. It's just slower than the other two methods that I showed 2 episodes ago. But you will see in the end how this method allowed us to give the tree a more stylized and detailed aspect, instead of it looking like a big blob of nonsense all around. So with that and a bit of painting, we finished the new version of this tree. Looking a bit more pink, not so red, but definitely an improvement from the one we had before. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. The idea of Vindaria is to turn it into an adventure map for people to play. So to make sure that the gameplay experience in my region is as fun and unique as possible, I decided to research and learn some basic stuff about level design in video games. As it turns out, designing a level is not just making it look pretty. There are so many other more important things to consider, which, looking back now, makes a lot of sense. So here I want to share some of that knowledge, and I prepared 2 examples. These red boxes represent rooms of the exact same size, where I only changed the layout of what's inside, and you will see how different they feel with just small changes. Let's get into the first one. Let's suppose we are coming from another room and entering this new one, where right away we find the tunnel staircase that gets the player into the room. So we go down, and on the very first moment when we step into the room, the spawner detects us and we are faced with a threat, leaving us with no option but to fight. If you are successful, once you are done, you need to look for the exit of the room. You might be a bit lost at first, but eventually you will find the exit behind this wall over here, which you use to get out and die, apparently. That was the first box. If we now go into the second one, this second room is the same size, but you can see that the moment we enter, it already feels different. There are a few things going on here. The first thing is that you are not facing any threats right away. You get this balcony over here from where you can take a look at the room. The second thing is that you have options. You can explore, see where the dangers are with anticipation, and you can choose which staircase to take. The third thing is that at all times you know where the exit or the goal of the room is. Perhaps you don't know exactly how to get to it yet, but you know that that's your objective. With all these things, which is just a change on the staircases and the addition of the balcony, the spawners are in the exact same places as well, by the way. With all this, you give the player more time to think and the power to make a decision. That creates a more rich experience while playing. Is it a bad thing to have the zombies spawning right away in your face like in the first room? Not at all. But if we have multiple rooms, which we will have, and all of them have a similar layout where zombies attack you right away, then the gameplay gets repetitive, too predictable and boring. So being aware of these small changes that we can do to the rooms, and knowing which effect they have on the player, which feeling they convey, that can help us vary things up and keep it interesting. Now back in Vindaria, we can begin implementing all that in our first dungeon. The general idea of this area is to keep it sort of as an open world, where if you can get to a dungeon, you can play that and skip the others. However, I also want to have a linear progression that goes along with the story and the scaling of the abilities. So to achieve both, we had to come up with a way to guide players through the main storyline path without turning that main path into a tunnel without options. And what we are going to be doing for that is using the new pink cactus flowers. These flowers are going to be tied into the story and into the lore. Of course, they are coming from the big sorrowing tree. At the beginning, they are going to be very abundant. As you progress, they are going to be less. And here we have the first area. And behind, if we follow the flowers, we have the beginnings of the first dungeon or the first level, which is a cave that we need to drop down there And this region, it's going to be more of a tutorial. I'm gonna implement a different type of combat system to make the gameplay here feel very unique. This first tutorial dungeon will be called the Rooted Caves, and it will have 2 rooms. The first one is the one we are at, and for the second one over here we need to carve it out, for which I will create a big gold box, place it where I want the cave to be, and then simply get rid of it. This is the easiest way to make a hole for a cave, and then with the sculpt draw and the melting I can begin creating a more interesting shape for that cave. This is to me the easiest method of making a cave with Axiom, but now I will work on it and I'll come back when it is fully done. As you can see now, we have the cave done. This is the first part of the cave, this is where you fall down, and over here we go to the second part of the cave, which is a much larger one. And you can see again we are applying the same concept using the pink flowers to guide the way, and we have again a balcony from where you can see the possible dangers and where you need to go with the pink flowers, and the cyan picture over there, which is also playing a very important role, and we will see why. This cave I think is looking really good. I really like what we did here, where we kind of carved a hole and we covered it up with some wool so it lets the light through. And then over here we have some stuff, another spawner, some roots, and it goes all the way to up here where you need to exit. Now, not only I did the building of the cave, but I also went ahead and started crafting some of the gameplay, as you can see by these particles, and as you can see probably by this floating sword here on the pedestal. And we will use this in this confined space where people can't do much to teach them how to play. And here is also very important for us to decide which mechanics we are going to implement for the players throughout the entire map. And I think I want something along these lines, where basically you find these swords floating and you pick them up and you get a powerful sword for a couple seconds. I like the idea of them being temporary because in that way we don't have to manage inventory too much. Because let's be honest, once you get a lot of weapons, if you don't get storage room in adventure mode, it gets really messy. And you can accumulate a lot of gear and it becomes a game of having to deal with your inventory, which I don't want that. So let me show you how this works. Let's go into adventure mode. So now when we get close to the sword, you can see that it gives me the golden sword in my inventory, and you will hear in any second. There we go. Can you hear that? That's like a small clock ticking, and we lose the sword, and then it goes back there. So you have quite a bit of time to do the things. So let's see. We grab it, we go into the room, and we gotta fight the mobs. As you can see, the mobs are very easy. And something else that the sword does is that it can break pitcher plants. So that's what we use to break these ones and burn the plant to keep progressing through the map. That is the mechanic that we are going to try to implement throughout the different levels, where we will provide different swords and different skills to create some sort of puzzles. So now we need to find a new sword to burn that one. So if we continue over here, we trigger the spawners, but that's fine. And you can see there's a new sword on the other side. We gotta dodge the mobs to get the sword so we can do the fighting. I like the idea of the swords for the skills, like having to grab the sword to go back and break the pitcher plant. I think that's great, but having to come back and grab the sword to kill the mobs, I feel that to be a little bit annoying, because in this case, for instance, I end up having to go back and forth like 3 times, and you can see by the time that I reach the mobs, the sword is about to go out. And there's still one mob around, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So it's easier to just punch this one, honestly, rather than go and get the sword. And I don't fully like that. After what I said, I made some changes. I did a live stream and I showcased this mechanic to some people and they have some really good ideas. They helped me decide on what I want with this and what was going wrong. So we are going to test it because now this works on a different way. We are going to make it so that at some point early on, maybe here, maybe when you are in the tree, they are gonna give you one basic sword, a basic golden sword. We are gonna come up with a name and with some special things for this one, but something very basic. And then the idea will be that in these small shrines, instead of gaining a new sword, it just modifies your existing sword. So now this one is enchanted and it can break pitcher plants. So you don't lose your sword to fight, but you can use it with a buff if you want it, and you can use it to progress through the game. And also, I don't know if you can see, but the durability changes now, so you have that visual indication as to when the skill is going to wear off. There we go. And then it comes back to normal once it's done. I think this is the way to go. It's a bit more complicated to make. If you're curious as to how this is done, these are the commands. It's not a lot really, but I'm not gonna bore you with the details of how this works. If you're interested, let me know, we can chat about it. And what I like about this is that it all works while you have the sword in your inventory. If you don't have the sword in your inventory, things don't work. So technically you could drop the sword and avoid some of the things, or you can even not hold it. But if you do that, when the skill finishes, you can see that in your inventory you have this, but then if you hold it, it just goes back to normal. So it fixes itself, and that's a good thing. And if you try to grab the enchantment without the sword in your inventory, it does nothing. So you need to hold the sword for this to work, which I think is great. So yeah, let's try it. Let's test it with this because I didn't test it yet. Send the spawner. Yep, perfect. That's amazing. But I think the best part of this is that now if we want to fight straight ahead before going, we can use the basic sword for that, without having to punch them with your hand. And I think that's good. Yeah, that feels so much better. The enchantment here. Hopefully this is gonna work. And let's go see if we can reach the picture before it wears off. We should be able to. I really like the visual indication. That was such a good idea. Not my idea though. Someone else said it. I had to learn how to do it and do it. But we did it. This feels so much better. So much better. I like it. This is definitely the way to go. Ooh. We have some mobs in some areas spawning. That's not good. For now, that's fine though. And here we go. And now from here is where we need to connect to the bridge. But for now, I think that's good enough. But yeah, I like this mechanic. I think it's good. I think it's interesting. The same way that we did this skill, we can do many other skills with different swords, with different enchantments, with different things to break, and we can begin like doing different types of dungeons and puzzles that incorporate this thing, and it can be really cool. I think that's gonna be everything for today's episode. We've done quite a bit. We changed the tree and we made our first dungeon. I'm really excited. I really like it. And the following steps after that dungeon is going to be there on that tower. I'm excited to progress, to keep building, but that's going to wait until next episode because we've done a lot already. So thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. This has been Calvin, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.